The 2024-25 Women's Super League is on the horizon. In preparation, we're previewing every single team and discussing how they'll shape up over the next campaign. We take a look at the transfer business conducted by the teams so far and offer suggestions of who else they should move for before the season gets underway. We start today with Arsenal. After a disappointing 23-24 season that saw them finish third in the league and fail to qualify for the Champions League, Arsenal will be hoping for more this time round. They've made some great additions already, and we discuss if they're enough for Arsenal to win the WSL. This is our 2024-25 season preview for Arsenal. Alright, let's get into it then. Our first preview of the season. And up first, it is Arsenal, of course. Now, we're going to start this by recapping last season for Arsenal, which had its ups and downs. Obviously, they were knocked out early in that Champions League qualification stage. They would have wanted to get through that.
Yeah.
They had the League Cup, which was very successful for them. They had the FA Cup, which was less so, and obviously then the league where they finished third. They were in the end, they were quite far off City and Chelsea compared to around January time where they were only 3 points behind. So a season of mixed fortunes for Arsenal. Would you call it a success or a failure?
Yeah, I think you're right. It was a mixed bag for Arsenal, but on that success or failure, there were more downs than there were ups, and for me, that will disappoint Arsenal, and that will disappoint Arsenal fans. Is the Champions League was a huge loss. That was a massive failure, not getting through. I mean, Paris FC, they're a decent side, but Arsenal are better than them. Should have won that game. I think the Conti Cup win was strong. They needed that. They were, after they got knocked out of the FA Cup by Manchester City, and in the league they fell off in the second half of the season. It was just silly losses, really. To teams they should never have been losing to, never have been dropping points to.
And that West Ham game where Sissoko scored a belter.
Yeah, it was a tough season. I think domestic in terms of the league phase, the Conti Cup win was good, but it feels like for Arsenal, they're doing well to win the Conti Cup. They keep doing that quite often, but they need to take that this season is that next step. Don't just win one competition, go deep, compete for the other trophies, get to the other finals.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, let's talk about what they've been doing in the transfer market then to try and improve their side. We're going to start with the outgoings. First up, Vivianne Miedema, club legend, leaving to join rivals Manchester City on a free transfer. This was caused a lot of debate, a lot of conversation, people saying that Arsenal have let a club legend down, people saying that it's a poor decision to let her leave. I think it was the right time. She never really clicked with Jonas Eidevall. That never really worked out. Last season, her numbers were definitely lower than they have been in the past, and with Alessia Russo there, Miedema was never going to start. And I think last season, Blackstenius was a better backup option than Miedema was.
Yeah, I think tactically it makes sense. The direction Arsenal are going in, the players they have at their disposal, Miedema doesn't quite work with that. But I think that the problem is it's the it's a fan favourite, a club legend, and she's left on a free to your title rivals after having a rocky relationship off the pitch and not playing brilliantly on the pitch. I think it's a disappointing way to end her Arsenal career. And I think it'd be much nicer to end it on a high, but I think it is the right decision, but it's a shame the way she left.
And the social media meltdown when she scores the winner against Arsenal on the opening day of the season, runs over and shushes Jonas Eidevall, it's going to be phenomenal.
I will be there.
I do think it's the right decision for her to move on. I think it's a great signing for City, and it's one of those where it's a good sell for Arsenal, a good moving on. They don't actually make anything from it. And a good signing. Often you think that a club's lost out on a player. I do think it was the right time for Miedema to move on. I think she'll be a very good backup to Khadija Shaw, and she will start the season for Arsenal, we expect, with Shaw out injured for the first few weeks. So, I think it's a good move for her, good move for Arsenal. Up next is Sabrina D'Angelo's joined Aston Villa on a free. She had a lot of errors last season, made a lot of mistakes. I find it difficult to argue she was worse than Zinsberg, though. I think both had a catalogue of errors. It just felt like D'Angelo's was more high profile. She had Manchester United on the second game of the season. That was really poor. I just think she was never the goalkeeper that's going to take Arsenal forward, and they've definitely made an improvement in that department.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's just personally who they favour is Zinsberg or D'Angelo, and they favour Zinsberger, so D'Angelo goes.
Yeah.
Villa needed a goalkeeper as well, so it makes sense for both parties. D'Angelo wasn't going to get a minute this season, really, so it makes sense for her to leave. I don't think it's a big miss with the new signing coming in.
Yeah, and obviously D'Angelo's contract has expired, so it's not...
Yeah.
They would have had to sell Zinsberger and renew D'Angelo, which wouldn't have made much sense in that regard, but... Yeah, I think it's fine. It's going to be interesting to see how she gets on at Aston Villa. I still think in a lower pressure environment like Aston Villa, that is somewhere she could perform where those high profile mistakes won't be so high profile.
Yeah.
So I think in that regard she might do better there. Up next we've got Gio Queiroz. I've never learned how to pronounce her name, but she has left the club now, fortunately, so we won't need to say it this year, unless they do play Atletico Madrid in the Champions League qualification in a week's time. But yeah, Gio, it was a weird signing. It seemed like a great addition at the time. They then immediately loaned her out, I believe, and now she's left on a permanent.
Yeah,
Don't really get it from Arsenal.
It's one of those, I think, where you just have to hold your hands up and say it didn't work out, and it's best for both parties for her to leave, and hopefully she has a really good career over in Spain.
Yeah, I don't believe the fee has been reported anywhere, but apparently they have made a profit on what they bought her for. So,
not bad.
And that is similar to Chloe Lacasse, another player they bought only a year ago, now leaving to join Utah Royals. It's an undisclosed transfer. This one's a bit of a weird one because I thought Lacasse played quite well last season. And when you're looking at some star players, and I know Arsenal fans aren't going to like this because there's a lot of support for players like Caitlin Ford, but in my opinion, Lacasse was better than Ford last season. Now, I get that Ford has better days than Lacasse. I think Ford overall is a better player, but if you're doing it just off last season, Lacasse was better.
Yeah, I find
it's a difficult judgment.
I think Lacasse it was perfect for Arsenal. I mean, she was very capable. When players like Ford or whoever didn't fire, she came in and she made the difference and she scored the goals and she had a pretty decent season. It's a bit of a weird one to let her go, but hey ho, it's a bit bizarre. It's not like we're sitting here going, "Oh my days, this is terrible. Why has Chloe Lacasse left?" But it's also a bit like, it's just a bit bit unnecessary, really.
I imagine she saw the competition coming in. She saw the fact that Ford and Mead are going nowhere, and realised she was fifth choice in the pecking order. Like she's third choice on either wing. She's not going to play a whole lot of minutes. She's going off to Utah, where she will be a star, so she will be the star player. I think that's fine for her. For Arsenal, it's no huge loss, but it's a shame. Yeah. Let's talk incomings then, because Arsenal have been very active in the market so far. We will start with the most high-profile edition, and their first. We'll go chronologically with their first edition, Mariona Caldente, joining on a free transfer from Barcelona. We'll put up her profile here. What a player. You've only got to look at her accolades to realise what a player she is. 6 Liga F titles, 6 Copa de la Reina, 3 Champions League, the 2023 World Cup and the 2024 Nations League. No medal at the Olympics though, so clearly Spain are washed. But Caldente, phenomenal player. Only 28 as well, so she's still got some good years ahead of her. She's going to bring so much experience to this Arsenal side. What a talented player to get on a free transfer.
Yeah, incredible bit of business from Arsenal, and I think at this point you just have to applaud. It is an incredible signing, and it's the type of signing we've spoke about for a few years now with Arsenal. They need that ceiling-raising signing that can put them on the level of Chelsea and Manchester City, that can put them on the level that means that they can compete for trophies in Europe and in England. And this is a massive step up. Caldente is a brilliant player. She's got pedigree, she's got experience, and she's got a load of quality. And these are the type of players that mean that Arsenal will avoid getting knocked out by teams like Paris FC. And obviously they've got Rangers tonight.
When this goes out, yes.
Yes, the Rangers tonight. I mean, they aren't going to lose that, because if they are, Caldente will just go score a hat-trick. There's a reason she's won 3 Champions Leagues. She's a brilliant player. To get her on a free transfer, incredible signing.
Yeah, really good bit of business from Arsenal. I think it's a good sign. I think it changes a lot of what they're going to do tactically. We saw elements of it in the Chelsea game when she came on, of her drifting inside, and that allows Katie McCabe to attack the line. Now that's great for 2 reasons, because one, Caldente is a very dangerous player in those pockets of space. The other thing is it gets Katie McCabe as far away from the back line as possible. No, she's really good at attacking Katie McCabe, and she's a great crosser of the ball. So I think that adds a lot more of it's just another dimension to that Arsenal attack, another player that is going to be able to swing balls into the box, create opportunities. I think it works out very nicely for Arsenal. If we look at our FBref profile, it's just green. Now, FBref basically takes the numbers per 90 and then ranks them against every other player in that position. So if you look at any stat on this profile, you can see the number in the green, which is the stat per 90. So if we take shot creating actions, for example, 7.91 there, that's per 90, and then the number to the right is that percentile. So you can see she ranks in the high percentiles for a lot of these statistics, which is very good. It's very strong. That's what you want to be doing. It shows she's good at those aspects of that position. So, as you can see, very, very green. Lots of successful take-ons, lots of shot-creating actions, lots of progressive passes. It all bodes very well. And obviously, that passes stat is going to be slightly increased because of the way Barcelona play. And whether Arsenal will play the same way is going to be interesting to see. But a lot of these statistics bode very well for Arsenal.
I think what Calente gives you and what these other signings give you as well is variation. Something Arsenal haven't really had for me when they've lost. Obviously I know they've won the big games when other teams, but when you look at the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge last season, Chelsea worked out how Arsenal were going to play and absolutely battered them because Arsenal couldn't mix it up. They had no variation. Players like Calente, they give you something to mix up. They give you different options where you can, if you're struggling in a game or you need something different, you can change things up and get those goals.
Yeah, certainly very interesting to see whether she starts every game, what this means for Ford's game time. We'll talk about that in just a moment when we get to the full squad. But let's keep going with these transfers then. Up next, Daphne Van Domselaar, 24 years old, coming in from Aston Villa. I believe this is a deal worth £200,000. So a fairly pricey one, but for a goalkeeper who only joined the WSL a year ago, has a lot of her career ahead of her, I think this is a really smart signing from Arsenal.
Yeah, I think every WSL fan has spent the whole summer waiting for this transfer to happen. It did happen a couple of weeks ago. And it's the right one for me. It's a massive upgrade in the goalkeeper position. An incredible shot stopper. Van Domselaar, very, very talented. Still got age on her side. It's a no-brainer for Arsenal. It is exactly what they needed. It's what they complained about all season, was the lack of quality in the goalkeeping area. They've finally brought in a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, definitely. I think she's a nice addition. We'll be interested to see how she gets on at Arsenal next season. I think she's at the moment she's out injured, so we expect that Zinsberg will start the campaign, which does put that City game in doubt. But we think she should be back in time for Chelsea in match week 4. Huge. So that could be huge. That could be a home game. That could be a first start, that home game against Chelsea, which would be a very big call, but it's a sort of call you've got to make. Yeah. If you've got a goalkeeper of that quality, you'd think she'd be able to jump in and play well immediately. So, only played 15 games for Villa before moving on. So, huge profit for them because they signed her on a free from FC Twente and sold her on for her release clause of $200,000 only a year later. So, really good business from Aston Villa. And for Arsenal, it's a really good goalkeeper signing.
Yeah.
Up next then, I think the signing that gets a lot of people out of their seats, Rosa Kafai, 21 years old, coming in from BK Häcken in Sweden. There's a lot of excitement, and rightfully so, around Rosa Kafai because she's a really exciting player. The ability she has with the ball at her feet is just phenomenal. I love the technical aspect of her game. Those little touches, those fancy bits of footwork, they're really fun to watch. I do have some doubts about her end product because she did overperform expected goals in the Elite Serien, which is somewhat worrying because obviously you want to see players overperforming their expected goals in those leagues where the quality is slightly lower. However, it does also show she's taking up those positions, she's getting into those positions to go and score goals. So, you can look at it both ways. It's going to be interesting how she performs. It is a big step up from Häcken to Arsenal, but she's got Champions League experience, which a lot of this Arsenal squad don't have. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how she adapts. She looked really good in that Chelsea game. Again, though, I think she was just a little bit she wasn't direct enough for me. I thought there was a lot of times where she could have looked to shoot, could have looked to create a chance, actually, maybe overplayed a bit, but as we get into the season, she'll start to tone that down, you would expect, while still maintaining some of that flair that makes her so interesting to watch. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is a really good signing, £250,000. It's a statement of intent from Arsenal, who beat the likes of Chelsea, of Barcelona, of PSG to her signature. A great signing.
Yeah, definitely. Time is the main thing with Kafai. She is an incredible talent. Obviously, kind of a slightly replacement for Sweden, which is a huge name to be compared to. And I think you're right. It's an incredible sign from Arsenal. The difference between this one and the other two they've made with Van Domselaar and Calente is they have beaten the other big side to get her to sign a contract, and that shows a lot for me. That shows that Arsenal have got intent this season. They've beaten Chelsea. They've beaten Barcelona to signing an incredible player. Arsenal are coming out and they're swinging this season. They're showing in the market that they're coming out to fight. The thing is, they've got to show that on the pitch this season. But off the pitch, with these 3 huge deals, Arsenal have done really, really well.
Yeah, let's review her FBref profile. I made a wrong statement just a second ago saying that she underperformed it. Actually, she overperformed it. So it's the opposite way round. But sentiment is still the same.
Yeah.
She overperformed it in that league. It shows she's not taking up great positions. She's just scoring goals against opposition that is of lower quality. So that's something that needs to be considered because obviously it is a higher quality league, the WSL. So it's going to be interesting to see how she performs. The interesting statistic there at the bottom of the screen, those successful take-ons up at 2.56 per 90 in the 94th percentile. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's phenomenally high. Really good stuff from Kafai, and it shows her ability to go and take a player on, to get past the opposition. And with Arsenal, I think Arsenal lacked that a bit last season. They didn't really know how to break down those low blocks.
Yeah.
You think of some of those high-profile losses when they lost at Tottenham, when they lost at West Ham. They were games, Liverpool as well, where they couldn't break down those low blocks. They couldn't find their way to the back of the net. I mean, they missed a lot of chances as well, admittedly. But there were games they didn't break down those low blocks quick enough, and then they got countered on and conceded. So that's good. I think adding players like Caldente and Kafai who can unlock those defences, and adding a goalkeeper in Van Domselaar who will sweep it up, I think will just give them the advantage in those type of games, which does then put them right in the conversation. Because you think last season they managed to beat us. They beat Chelsea at the Emirates. They beat Man City both home and away. If they do that again and they stop these stupid losses to the likes of Liverpool, to Tottenham, the draw at United, the loss to West Ham, if they cut those out and keep beating City and Chelsea, they're going to put themselves in a position where they win the league.
Yeah, it's the X factor. What Arsenal, I mean, Mead, Russo, the likes, they're incredible players, but for me, the difference between them and Chelsea and City is that X factor player. Man City have got Khadija Shaw. She can score a goal out of nothing. Same with Lauren James at Chelsea or Sam Kerr. For Arsenal, they haven't had that player. Kafai and Caldente are those players. Mario
with Kafai.
Yeah, but I think, especially with Caldente, if Arsenal are struggling, if they need a goal, she can get something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And can completely turn a game on its head and can turn 0 points to 3. And that is the type of thing that wins you leagues.
Definitely then. Let's have a look at how their squad shapes up then. It's quite well balanced now for Arsenal. Now there's only one position where they've got one player, and that is Beth Mead. However, I do think we'll see Kafai play out there this season. The other thing, she can play out there. I expect to see her start in attack midfield. The other thing to note is that Palova obviously is out with a ACL injury for most of this season, we expect. That's really horrible news. It also means they're very light in midfield now. They've got Vauti, Kjell, Palova. They'll probably drop Kim Little in there quite a bit. So it does leave them probably a player short. Now, if there was an opportunity to go and get a world-class defence midfielder, we've spoken about Kira Walsh, then they've got to take it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't see... If they could find like a loan deal for this season with Palova out injured for a decent enough midfielder, I think that would suit them well. Yeah. Because they could just do with an extra cover player there.
Yeah, it's one of those. If they can find someone that is of quality and, is going to do the job, then I think definitely. But it's one of those positions they don't need to force it. They have got cover there. And I think it provides a perfect opportunity for Cooney Cross to really impress.
Yeah, so that midfield I think Vauti is Vauti, isn't it? Leah Vauti. So. And then Cooney Cross. That midfield partnership is quite nice with Kjell obviously as a backup with Kim Little as another option in there.
Yeah.
So that I think is fine. In goal, Van Domselaar will start now. Obviously, once she's back from injury. In the meantime, be Zinsberger. They've also got Williams as a third choice. So they've got options there. At right back, they've got Emily Fox and Weinreuther. Be interested to see how well Weinreuther plays. Obviously, she was out injured for ages.
Great to see her back.
Yeah, a lot of injuries troubles for her. She is now back. I thought she played well in the pre-season matches that she did play. Obviously, Emily Fox didn't feature in those because she was at the Olympics. So I think Fox though has been a real good signing. They signed her in January. I think that is a top signing. I would argue she's probably the best right back in the WSL.
Oh yeah, 100%. Definitely last season.
Unless you're arguing Lucy Bronze comes in and wins that.
Depends how well Bronze plays, but Fox was brilliant last season. And I think, as we're going to touch on, this Arsenal defence for me is the best. Was the best in the league last season, to be honest. I think City would hard argue in that. Chelsea had quite a few problems at the back last season. Shipped too many goals. But I think Arsenal, the back line on paper is incredibly strong.
I think Arsenal's back four is the strongest in the league. They were let down by their goalkeeper last season. They were let down by their midfield being a bit too porous at times. and perhaps let down tactically because they were a bit open on those counter-attacks. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get on.
Yeah.
I think a lot of their defensive troubles comes because they can't score goals. So that's where they've clearly improved the side, and they've brought in a world-class goalkeeper. So that's huge. Centre-half, right centre-half, they've got Williamson and Ilestedt. Left centre-half with Moy and Cadena. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation who starts there.
Yeah.
We know it'll be Leah Williamson, but who's going to be alongside her? Because I think Cadena will be keen to make that a position her own. I think Wubben Moy will be keen. I would argue Wubben Moy and Williamson, it's a bit of a clash. They're a bit too similar in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a rotation type thing where 1 week it's Williamson and Cadena and the next is Wubben Moy and Ilestedt, because I think that's more complementary as a partnership. But I guess we'll see, because it's difficult to say, drop Wubben Moy for the big game against Man City. But if Cadena gives you a tactically better fit, is that not the smart option?
Yeah, I think also that's what I love about his backline as well, is it's the starters are the strongest, but saying that Arsenal will win 4 competitions next season, there's going to be rotation.
Should be. They might not, but make the Champions League.
Yeah,
again.
They should be in the Champions League though. I look at this and they've got the backups are incredible.
Yeah, left back is of course McCabe and Catley as well. Now Catley can play left centre half. We saw her do that in pre-season. They've got a lot of options in that back line. I think it's probably the strongest defence in the league.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a huge area of strength. Then in the attacking area, now it's on the right wing. We've spoken about Beth Mead briefly, but fantastic player.
Yeah,
I think she was a little quiet last season. I think she never fully recovered from her injury. Now, if she can come back and start firing for Arsenal again, especially with the attacking talent around her, that's be really good. Obviously, Kafai can cover out there. We expect Kafai will play attack midfield. That's where she's played all of pre-season, and she's looked, again, excellent in that role. They've got Kafai, they've got Little, they've got Manham. I think Little will play a little bit deeper this season with Palova out injured, but you've still got Kafai and Manham who can rotate in that position. On the left wing, you've got Caldente, who can also play attack midfield. You've got Caitlin Ford, and you've got Lena Hurtig. So the big debate is, how does everyone fit into that? We'll get into strikers in a moment, because I think that's fair nailed. But across that three, what is the strongest? Do they play Ford, Caldente, Mead? Do they go Ford, Caldente, Kafai? Do they go Caldente, Kafai, Mead? How would you line that midfield? How would you line up that attacking trio?
For me, I think if we're talking City first game of the season, I would go Ford, Caldente, Mead. I think you have to have the big guns. You have to have the big names, the experienced players who know how to win the big games. I think Kafai is brilliant, but I think she has to come in slowly. I don't think you can throw her into City immediately. I think big games, you've got to go big players and hope they deliver. And if they don't, then game week 4 against Chelsea, Kafai starts.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting opinion. I'll be intrigued to see how they line up. I wouldn't be surprised to see. I think Caldente on the left gives you a better tactical fit if they're trying to attack oppositions, but they are going to probably be a bit more defensive against City, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Ford. But it's going to be interesting to see. Up front, and obviously they've got Alessia Russo and Stina Blackstenius. Blackstenius scored a brace against Man City last year to clinch Chelsea the title, in a sense, or put them back in the title fight. Does Blackstenius start the opening day of the season, or is it too difficult to bench Alessia
I think that's such a hard debate. I think they're both brilliant strikers. What this Arsenal side, the rotation is really strong.
Yeah,
I think
that's perhaps what they've lacked in previous seasons.
Yeah,
because now you're taking players like Caitlin Ford, and rather than being the nailed-on starter with no competition, she's competing with Mariona Caldente of all players. So there's a lot of competition now for places.
It's a healthy balance. They haven't got too much rotation. They haven't got 4 right wingers. They haven't got 3 strikers like they had. They're 3 strikers.
Like
three strikers
at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously when we touch on that in a couple of days, that's going to be fun. But it's really a balance for Arsenal, and if they can keep this up, if they can stay strong, if they can keep the results, this squad is looking really good.
Yeah, for me, they've got to be looking at the table. They've got to be in that title fight this season. There's no excuses now. Jonas Seiderval can use the excuses in the past that they didn't have the same level of investment and all this.
Yeah.
They've signed 2 players totaling almost £500,000 this summer. They've signed a Champions League winner in Mariona Caldente. What more does Jonas Seiderval want?
Exactly.
Because you know what, Aitana Bonmati, what does he want to win the league? So I think that he's out of excuses. He's got to go and compete. He's got to be in the They've got to be in the Champions League this season. They've got to be up there for the league title. They've got to be winning cups. That's the minimum, I think, for Arsenal this season. So they are right in there. It's going to be interesting. I think Chelsea and City have strengthened as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. However, we will find out very early on the season as we look at the first 5 fixtures for Arsenal. They are some interesting ones. Up first, Manchester City at the Emirates. Do you think the Emirates, because the fact they're playing City and Chelsea in the first 5 games at the Emirates, can that make the difference?
I definitely think so. I'd expect it to sell out. We've seen the Emirates sell out before. They're 2 massive games, and if you've got an incredible Arsenal crowd in there, it's going to be one hell of a game, and the home fans are going to make the difference. I look at it and I go, they have to win. One of them, the City game, is that they're must wins. It's the thing, they're at home. The home games against your title rivals are must wins. I look at the first 5. For me, it's 12 points minimum. You've got to take points off at least one of City and Chelsea, if not both. Yeah. Because you can't. If Arsenal lose to both of them by game week 5, they could be 6 points behind both of them already.
I think that's the mental thing, isn't it? Because people say, "Oh, is the NWSL the best league? Is the Liga F?" I think they can't compete with the WSL because we're looking at the WSL this season and we're saying if Arsenal don't win all of their first 5, or at least 4 of them, they probably can't win the league because they will already be 6 points off Chelsea and City. And so they would have to have a flawless season from that point. They'd have to win every single match based on how Chelsea and City did last season to win the league. And that's an impossible thing to do. Or they've got one slip up, I think. Because if you think Chelsea slip up against Liverpool and City against Brighton. But still, that's incredibly, incredibly difficult.
I think City's the bigger game to win. I really do. I think Chelsea, being an unknown, I think there's more chance Chelsea make a mistake or slip up. Again, I think if I look at City-Chelsea right now, I think City have got a better chance of winning that game. And I know we have that's a bit down the line, but I think over the season, I don't get me wrong. I think I'm going to see what Chelsea can deliver, and they might be even better if they can get better. But I think there's more chance at the moment. If I look between Chelsea and City, I see Chelsea slipping up more than I see City slipping up. For Arsenal, City games are more of a must-win for Chelsea. Obviously, they're both must-win. Like, they want to win them. But I think that City game's more important.
I think they're playing City at the perfect time, if I'm honest. There'll be no Jill Rords. She won't be back until January. There'll be no Khadija Shaw. She's also out until at least October. Miedemar Curse is there, though, so she's probably going to score against her former club. But I think it's a perfect time to play City. Yeah, there is no 100%. Better time this season to play Manchester City because Miedemar won't be bedded in properly and they don't have their best 2 players.
No.
You can't ask for a better set of conditions, really. And at home, Arsenal have got to win on the opening day. That's the simple fact of it. There are no more excuses for Jonas Eidevall. They've got to beat Man City on the opening day.
And I think Arsenal fans will agree, and obviously let us know in the comments, but this is Eidevall's shot. He has got the squad. He's got the talent. They've got the fixtures. Everything is in place for Arsenal to win the league this season, to win something. Even if it's not in the league, they're a point off in the league and they win the FA Cup and Conti Cup. That's a good season. It's Eidevall now. If Arsenal don't deliver, I think it's got to fall on him.
Yeah.
So for Eidevall, this season is now or never.
Our Champions League qualification tonight. They face Rangers. They should win that.
Yes.
And then at the weekend, they will probably play Atletico Madrid if they win their game.
Yeah.
For me, they're both winnable fixtures. Rangers they have to win. Yeah. If not, I think Eidevall should be sacked instantly. No, but I think they've got to be in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, 100%.
Because the revenue there is so much bigger. The pull for players is so much stronger. For me, they've all got to be in that, and they'll be able to sell so many more games at the Emirates because that's another 6 guaranteed, another 3 guaranteed through the Champions League group stage, and if they get through, that could be 6 or 7. So that's really exciting. Especially
where they have bought 2 players who play Champions League football, in Kafai and Caldente. They are not here to not play Europe. They need to. Those kind of players. Arsenal. I look at the quality of the squad. Players like Bethany, players like Caldente and Russo, they need to be playing in Europe. They can't afford to have another season without Europe. So Rangers is a must-win tonight. Come join our stream.
Yes, we'll be live tonight. We'll be live on Saturday as well if Arsenal beat Rangers and do get through into the next phase of qualification. Yeah. If not, we might do Chelsea final, or we can find a way to watch that. So look out for that. But that is everything for this preview of Arsenal's 24-25 season. I'm in the wrong year. But that is everything for today. Make sure to keep your eye out because we're going to be doing one for every single WSL club as we get prepared for the 24-25 WSL season. I'm very excited. Yes. We are only 2 weeks away now from it all starting. I can't believe we're here. But do stay tuned for all of it. Look out for all the previews on this channel over the next 2 weeks. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.